Okay, so in this video, I will share with you exactly how we scaled a new agency coaching offer to 30K a month in retainers, in coaching retainers, and how we did it without any sort of audience to work with, basically only through paid ads and one specific funnel type. Okay, so I'll share the exact funnel, the offer, the monetization strategy, and also some mistakes that we've made along the way that I wish we didn't, but you know, we learn as you go. So let's get straight into it. So the core offer that we were trying to sell was basically agency coaching. So teaching agency owners how to scale their agency and turn it into a real business using paid ads, hiring, systems, and operations. The founder, the coach, was running a 500K a month agency at the time. I don't know what he's doing now, but at the time it was around $500,000 a month. And the coaching / consulting he was selling was $3,000 per month. Okay, it was a retainer, which is kind of unusual in the coaching space. Okay, and I don't always recommend to do retainers when it comes to info, but it worked for him because scaling an agency is a little bit of a longer process, so it makes sense to have someone in your corner for, let's say, 3, 5, 6, sometimes even 12 months. So what we did is that we basically set up a brand new funnel that he didn't have in place prior to this. And as you can see, let me try to see if we can make it bigger. We started running ads and started getting actually people interested in the coaching, and we signed, I believe, over 12 of them in the first 4 or 5 months. And here's where the math comes from. Okay, so as I said, they were paying anywhere between $3,000 and some of them actually bought just some lower ticket products. Some lower ticket courses, which I'll share again in a moment. But what happened was that we got his coaching from 0 to something like 30K a month. So he invited me to share basically this exact funnel structure and how it works during his mastermind in Copenhagen. Okay, as you can see, this is me, this is Daniel, the founder, and all of these people have paid around 3K per month just to be there, basically not to be in the mastermind. They were paying for the coaching, but as a part of the coaching or as an inclusion, they would get access to this mastermind, which was, by the way, pretty cool. And yeah, we made some pretty cool memories. So now let's go over the actual funnel, because it doesn't happen every day that you get invited to speak at an agency mastermind. Something must have been working, right? So this is the funnel and the ads and everything. Okay, so you can see we were running some IG content, some YouTube content and stuff like that, but it was maybe like 10% of the sales. 90% of the sales were coming from paid ad. Okay, and so we were selling a $27 digital product. I will share the product in just a second. Then we had a $17 to $47 upsell. We actually had 3, and then we would invite them to book a call and close them on the 3K per month retainer. So this is just a simple overview. Okay, obviously there's more to it, but this is basically how the funnel works. Okay, ads, a low ticket product, a low ticket upsell, book a call, close. Now, if you want to see the exact ads, I believe some of you might have probably seen the ads. Okay, by the way, I was the one who created those. So if you've seen them in your feed, that was me, and I believe Daniel is still running them to this day. So normally we would do 3 copy variations, 5 ad creatives at a time, no targeting. Okay, completely broad. I don't know what anyone says about targeting. It doesn't matter anymore. And our testing was done through ABO, aka ad set budget optimization. So we can actually test, so we can actually spend enough money on each ad set to make a data-driven decision. And those ads proved themselves would be moved into our CBO campaign, which was for scaling, obviously. And if I remember correctly, we would spend something like $300 a day on average, and we would liquidate the vast majority of the ad spend, which again, this is one of the things that I will discuss later during those mistakes that we made. But this is basically how we ran the ads. Okay, so 5 ad creatives, 3 copy variations, no targeting, ABO for testing, CBO for scaling. Simple as that. We would spend like $300 a day without actually breaking the performance. So the ads will take you to this page, right? We tested multiple different pages along the way. Obviously, this is not the first page or the first landing page that we first started with, but this one has been probably the best performing one for us. So, outcome focused headline, a CTA and a VSL, And obviously there's more to the page, but if you want, you can go to agencysupremacy.io, I believe. Actually, I think I can maybe type it for you here. So if you want to see the actual page, you can go to this website and find it in the digital product suite. Now, after you click on get access, and if you want to actually purchase the product, it will take you to this order form or to this checkout page. This is where the magic, the liquidation happens. So as you can see, we had 3 different, and by the way, I forgot, the front end product was ad templates, okay? In other words, we would sell ad templates for agency owners so they can run ads to get clients. This isn't just an idea that we got. It's actually, there's some reasoning behind it. And the reasoning is that most people will just create a low ticket product and expect it to bring them clients. And it doesn't always happen, okay? So the way we create low ticket products is that we want to give them something that solves a very specific, narrow niche problem. And we want to solve the problem basically completely, right? So we knew that if we, for example, created a product that was not ad templates, but let's say cold email scripts or something like this for agency owners, this still applies to agency owners, but you will get a dramatically different type of customer, okay? Now, what I mean is ad templates only apply to people who, first of all, are looking to run ads. And what this tells us is that these people are serious agency owners, okay? They're not looking to start their agency. They're probably looking to actually scale it, okay? Because they have some money set aside for these ads. So that's why we decided to go with ad templates. And we also tested to give away funnel templates, which worked pretty well too, but the ad templates have been pretty much the winner all along. And yeah, the way I like to think about creating low ticket products is that you basically just want to give them enough information or enough, let's say, value so that they get a quick win, okay? And you don't want to basically sacrifice or sort of, cannibalize your main offer. Now, if you want to make sure that this doesn't happen to you, what you do is that you take your main offer, which is in our case, agency coaching, and you basically go from there. You take a look at all of these problems that people have when it comes to scaling their agency, and you solve one of them so that when this is solved, it leads logically to the main offer. So let me give you a more clear or something a little bit cleaner, which would be probably fitness coaching, right? So let's say that you sell a weight loss program and you want to run a low ticket funnel to get clients, which I recommend to do. If you just create something like a workout plan or a diet plan or something like this, it doesn't really serve the purpose of the low ticket product, which is to basically eliminate an objection and position the core offer, the main coaching, as the next logical step, right? So instead, what you need to do is basically take a look at the objections that people have prior to joining your core offer, which if we sell fitness coaching, for example, it could be something like, yeah, this is cool. Okay. I like, the idea of getting shredded, but I don't have the willpower. I will just overeat at night. And yeah, so I will not get the results. So there's no reason for me to spend, $2,500, $3,000 on this coaching. And they would be right to say that. So instead, what you do is that you create a low ticket product that basically solves this specific objection. So it can be something like how to get rid of your late night starving or basically your late night, binge eating sessions so that you don't have to rely on willpower anymore and actually stay within a caloric deficit. So when somebody purchases this product, they don't really have the objection anymore, right? It naturally basically positions the core offer as the best or as the next logical step on their journey. So I hope it makes sense. And this is basically what we did here, okay? So we knew that if we want to sell them on how to, basically a coaching on how to scale an agency to, let's say, $200,000, $500,000 a month, which would require hiring, which would require, sales teams, operations, stuff like that, their objection would be like, okay, but I don't have the, I don't have the client acquisition system required to be able to even, handle this infrastructure, right? I don't have, enough clients in my hand to be able to afford this. So what we do is that we solve it for them by giving them, ad templates so they can run ads to get clients, which if they they will start getting meetings booked. And this naturally gives us the option to upsell them into the main offer, which is like, okay, right now you have, this is how you get meetings booked. Now you need to, first of all, now you need to close them. Now you need to fulfill. Now you need to do all these other, all these other things that we solve in this program. So I hope it makes sense. And this is basically the thought process behind how we create low ticket products. I might do another video on exactly, or on specifically on creating the product, because I would say the product section is like 90% of the success of the overview. This is basically low ticket products one-on-one, okay? So if you decide that you want to purchase our ad templates, it will take you to the checkout page where as you can see, we get our upsells. This we typically call order bumps, and the pricing range is between $17 to, I believe, $47. And as you can see, those order bumps are complementary to the main offer. I mean, to the front end product. So what happens is that people buy ad templates, and what do they need next? Okay, now I got ads, basically ad creatives. What do I need next? I will probably need some ad copy for these. So we offer them, ad copy templates. They will probably need a full system on like how to actually, get it set up, because it's not just that you run ads. You need some, you will get meetings booked, but what do you do with these meetings? And that's what I was talking about, okay? We sell them on the, sales masterclass. And basically here, the cool thing is that if you do this, you don't really have to deal with, failed payments that much, because the upselling happens prior to finishing the purchase. And I will explain this in a second or in a minute once we get to the mistakes that we've made. But it's pretty important that you don't overdo the post-purchase, post-purchase fall. And I'll show you what I mean. So after they complete the purchase, okay, they choose which order bump they want to include, which add-on basically. They, submit their payment information. We take them to this page, which basically invites them to book a call for, to see if they qualify for our high ticket offer. And that's like where most of the profits come from, okay? We don't run this to make money. We don't sell $27 per product just to make $27, okay? We just want to liquidate the ad spend, or as much of it as possible, and then turn the buyers into, high ticket clients. So this is basically the process of like what it looks like from starting with the ad to the landing page, checkout / upsell to the actual high ticket invite. And on the call, obviously they get sold the high ticket offer. But there's more to it, okay? So it's not just that we make money on, the mentorship, because we make money on multiple different, with multiple different mechanisms, we can say. So once they get on a sales call, we try to get them into the mentorship, which is cool. But if they don't have the money, for example, or if they're not qualified enough, we don't want to waste the customer, okay? We will at least try to get them into a self-paced course, which in this case was $1,000. So we get them on a sales call, okay? If they don't qualify for the mentorship, we sell them a $1,000 course. If they don't even have the money for the, for anything, basically, at least we try to get them into a paid community, which is like $97 per month. And again, in the mentorship, in the community, and in the course, in all of those things, we try to get them to use our affiliate links, okay? So this can mean, again, high level, I believe, pays you like $40, 40% of the sales that you generate. So let's say that here we offered, or like not we offered, but we provided these customers or these clients with also funnel templates or CRM templates, basically stuff within GHL. So we would get them, or we would have them use our GHL affiliate link. So when they sign up for GHL, we earn the commission, right? So this is not something that you will get probably wealthy off of, okay? But it's still recurring revenue that you get pretty much on autopilot, okay? It's 100% passive income once it's locked in, okay? So If they are qualified for the mentorship, cool, great, we got a client. And of these clients, we want to upsell some portion into the mastermind, right? This is where you will not probably make as much money because hosting a mastermind costs quite a bit of cash, but it will improve the retention and the relationships a lot, okay? So I would still recommend doing it, even if you don't earn as much money on it. Obviously, you can make crazy amounts of money on in-person masterminds, but in this case, I don't think that was the case. So here's something pretty cool, okay? And this is what most people don't do. Once you get a client for a mentorship, you can cross-sell them stuff that they will need to do anyway, but they just don't want to do it or they don't have the time to do it, okay? In this case, Daniel would get a client for his one-on-one mentorship, and a part of the, not the deliverables, but basically part of the tasks that, you know, his students or his clients would need to do to actually get the outcome was, you know, posting content. And a lot of them told him, look, I don't have the time to, you know, to create and post content. So what we would do is that we partnered up, and I was also running my LinkedIn, you know, agency at the time. And basically he would cross-sell them, or we would cross-sell them into, you know, my done for you services. So now the client that paid $3K per month, or that was paying $3,000 per month for his mentorship, we would also sort of cross-sell them into a $2,500 per month, you know, ghostwriting / content package. So now the client that was only worth $3,000 is now suddenly worth $5,500 per month in recurring revenue, which is pretty cool, right? And yeah, not only that, we would also try to get them, we would not actively try to get them there, but we would sell them on, for example, done for you ads, done for you tag and tracking setup, and all of these cool things that, you know, these people or these customers in the mentorship just didn't want to do themselves, and they would just rather pay someone else to do it. So Daniel would just basically recommend other people, aka me, to do it for them, right? So this is basically the monetization, and this is how we were making money with this. But we've made some mistakes along the way, and if we didn't make those mistakes, or hadn't we made those mistakes, we would probably make a lot more with this, right? So let me show you what I mean, okay? So number one, we were chasing front-end liquidation like crazy, and it was good because we would be getting good ROAS on the front end, like sometimes even upwards of 2x ROAS on the front end, meaning we would spend $300 or $200 on ads and make those $200 basically the same day in pure profit, right? So that's pretty cool. It looks good on paper. But the problem is, as you can see, we were doing, and this was in the first month, I believe, we were doing like $100 a day in profit just from front end sales. The problem was that we would basically sacrifice the, you know, the scale or the backend. So in order for us to be able to get this high ROAS on the front end, we needed to have this funnel in place. So if you remember, we would have a digital product on the front end for $27, 17, you know, upwards of $47 bump, and a book a call. But here we in the beginning we had an upsell 1, upsell 2, upsell 3, basically 3 more things to sell to these people before they even get on the option to book a call. And what would happen is that by the time they get here to book a call, I mean to the booking page, they were completely, you know, fatigued, you know, from the decision making. You know, they would basically go through 3 different offers, and if they basically took action on all of these offers, by the time they get here, they would have the argument like, okay, cool, but I've just bought 3 more, you know, products from you. I would just much rather get results with these products first before I actually consider joining the mentorship. And the thing is, that's a fair argument, right? So then what we decided to do was to basically remove the upsells and move some of them towards the checkout page, so that by the time they finish the purchase, the only thing they see is the book a call. Okay, I mean the book a call option. And that was basically when we started to see some actual, you know, back-end sales coming in. And that's what I think we made as a mistake, which was basically chasing the liquidation through post-purchase upsells instead of focusing on the booked calls. So another thing that I think is also pretty important to mention here is that, and I think I made a video on this, on the channel already, but nowadays in 2026, the banks are getting super strict. So what happens is that once somebody purchases this $27 product, or they take the order bump, that's cool, but these products, these upsells, are one-click upsells basically. So what happens is that they get shown a page where it's like, okay, do you want this product? Yes, add to my order, or no, I don't think this is good for me. And if they click yes, add to the order, it will automatically charge the cart on file, which banks nowadays don't really like that much, and it will result in a lot of failed payments. So now what I do instead is, if I want to have an upsell post-purchase, I will just basically put there a normal order form. And it works a lot better because people don't need to fill out all the payment information, all the payment details. They just basically need to, sort of verify the payment by adding the code from the back of their card. But it also limits the failed payments by a lot, okay? And so that's why I think if we ever do something like this again, it will not be one-click upsells. It will be something more like, basically, do you want this product? Yes, okay, here's an order form. And that's why I think this is one of the mistakes that we made, right? Because we would still get a lot of failed payments, but it was cool because we were making money. But we were sacrificing the book a call, basically invite, and the booking rate and the ascension rate, and also losing money on failed payments. So I don't recommend it, and that's one of the biggest mistakes that we've made. Now, another thing that I think should be mentioned here in terms of the mistakes is that we didn't really have, I would say, a robust enough backend conversion system or backend conversion mechanism. And what I mean by this is webinars or workshops for buyers. It could be, some more sales assets for indoctrination, so that by the time people get on the phone, on the call, they're actually more sold on the process and more sold on the actual core offer, right? So this is what I believe also cost us a lot of potential backend sales, and also having an outbound setter to call up the leads, or basically the customers, within the first 3 to 5 minutes of them purchasing, or basically of them leaving the funnel, right? So yeah, and those were the things that I believe were I think like 15, maybe 30% of the sales we were losing by not having this in place, and another like 30% we were losing by having this in place, right? So I would say a quite costly mistake, but you learn as you go, and yeah, there's nothing I can do to change it, but we learned from it. And by the time we removed the upsells from the post-purchase flow, we started liquidating around like 70-80% of the budget on the front end, which was cool because we were still making a lot of money on the back end, from the mentorships. So I hope it helps. I hope I didn't miss anything. If I remember anything after, I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll do another video. But you can ask me any questions below in the comment section. And yeah, if you want to have something like this implemented for you, just let me know, and we can see whether or not we are a good fit to work together. So yeah, I'll see you probably in another video.